y'all? Welcome back to the Leon Block. It is your guy, Jontel, back with more. I do have another episode that is coming later on tonight. However, at the moment, I have a special guest in the building. Let's welcome back friend to the show who is featured on our podcast. If you've ever checked the episode out about mental health social worker, but he's actually been on the show prior to that too. Let's welcome Rushard back to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you. The setup.
No, it's not. How's it set up? So I recorded an episode earlier, right? And we got into a hot topic about language because you work in mental health. I would imagine that you have to stay like up to date with terms, verbiage of describing like uh mental health things and terms of like what's offensive and what's not, I guess. So like we were discussing, like older, like people of an older age might take not necessarily issue, but they feel like they're walking on eggshells maybe because of the different terms and how things have changed in description of things. Sensitive in what way? What do you mean?
Like something you would say back in the day that wasn't offensive now comes across as offensive. So it's more of a sensitive topic, or sensitive phrase that you're saying. For example, retard.
Right, retard.
It was back in the day. We used to always say, "Oh, that's retarded. That's retarded." Da da da. Da. Not meaning anything. Not like using it for any malice or like ill intent.
Right.
But just saying something's dumb and stupid. But if you say that now, it's offensive.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. That's what you're saying.
Yes. And like it's like we were in agreement. It's just that times are changing and there's so much new phrases and verbiage coming out every day. And like for someone that's older, like even myself, it's not saying like I'm old, but you know what I mean. Don't look at me like that. You're smirking. But I think that it can be, it's like, damn, like this is overwhelming. Oh my goodness. Do you know what I mean? Like it could be like that. Especially for people that like don't mean any ill intent or harm. They really are eagerly trying to learn.
Yeah.
It can be tough because with this whole cancel culture thing, and I'll get to that in a minute too, it's like we need to make sure that we're understanding people, or at least doing our best to understand people so that we can continue to have conversations. You don't want to just cut someone off because you think that just because they're not using the proper terms that you think they should, or because no one's keeping up with society's, like, you know what I mean?
I think it's like it's a two-sided thing though. I think right. As people we should try to be accommodating for others all the time. But if you don't know that verbiage, if you're like not certain on something, it's okay to not know. And I think people on the receiving end of that or the opposing end of that need to be more receptive to people who just don't know. Ignorance is a thing, and it happens.
Right.
You don't. Some people you're not gonna just know everything, and
right.
like you said, things are changing all the time.
Yep.
So I feel as if people on the receiving end need to, like I said, be more receptive to knowing that people are ignorant and be willing to educate them without coming across as offensive, because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone who's using these words are using them to be offensive.
No.
So they're like,
it's reflective of the time, that people grew up in.
Exactly. So it's more so about education and willingness to educate and willingness to learn.
Yes. And I think, if in a day and age where Fox News reigns supreme with cable viewership and people are picking up all this bullshit stuff they deem as fact and it's propaganda, when someone wants to know something, and understand something in someone else's experience, I'll take all I can get, and I'll give them as much as they want to know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like my point is, don't ever like shun someone away, because you don't feel like teaching them something. You can at least point them in the right direction
Right.
at the very least. You know,
Right, because I feel like it's selfish of you to get upset about something, and if it accepts you to that degree, why not educate the person?
right.
If you're coming at them all hot and heavy, that's not going to leave them feeling nothing but confused and offended themselves, and now you're both sitting here offended.
Agreed.
That's not helping anyone. It's not helping you. It's not helping them. So why not just bridge the gap?
Bridge the gap. I like that. So I was sitting here showing you, while we're still talking about, clearly we're of the queer community, so we were talking about referring to the queer community in reference to that, and I was showing you clips from Philly Pride,
Mm-hmm.
and the context behind that is, I grew up going to New York Pride and Philly Pride, and always seeing black and brown people go to an area separate and off from the parade to be able to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're heavily policed and arrested, and all the white people and all the, bougie people
Mainstream side
are
of
having a
things.
good time and uninterrupted and dancing with police.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I witness this every single year. And then 2020 comes along, George Floyd, racial reckoning, racial disparities put on blast because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And people had enough. And then you have 2021 come along, and the same quote unquote leaders who, through Pride, which is dominated by old white men, decided to put up a Blue Lives Matter flag with the rainbow thrown in. People had enough. They walked out and protest. So like the whole organization dissolved.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, there was no, so what came out of those ashes was a new organization formed by mostly black and brown people. It was a diverse organization, though, that now is running the show. And they decided to like make sure black and brown, especially black trans women, are at the center as you watch the videos
Mm-hmm.
of the event, the day, the festivities, the week, and no more parade to divide people. There's no more spectators and participators.
Right.
Everyone's included in the march. So when I walked around the corner,
like Pride and then sub Pride.
right, and there's no paid event. Everything was free it was free open streets.
Mm-hmm.
Before, for speaking for Philly, before you had to pay to get into the pier to where the whole celebration went on. You could watch the parade, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could go to the neighborhood and hang out. So this year, it was literally like you could sit on the side if you wanted to and watch, but you could jump in the parade and take a march and take part.
Yeah,
that was
watching
really
your
empowering.
videos and like what you were saying, it seems very open, like
Mhm.
very open, very free, very lit. I was jealous.
and to also hear the chants, black trans liberation,
Mm-hmm.
no justice, no peace. That was really dope and empowering. It just reminded me of any other march that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely enjoyed that. So I told you about Kiki Alley because you watched all the ballroom scenes.
All the ballroom scenes.
Yes. Then there was also like an open street dance party, but then there was also a strip for sober living and a dry bar. There was also a kid friendly area, a whole strip with a kid friendly area.
Pride?
They had a truck with 2 big screen TVs so you could play video games. Yes.
Oh wow.
And then they also had They also had sitting there playing that the whole time. Bouncy things like crayons and activities for kids to play. Then they also had a relaxation area for people to just sit and relax, to be quiet and away from stuff. Shit. Interesting. What else did they have? Of course, the vendors and things like that. But I'm missing something else. But they had a whole bunch of different areas to really try their best to speak to the different pockets and facets of the queer community. Mm-hmm. And I found it to be very inclusive this year, and it meant a lot. It was really dope. And the fact that they changed the date so that it didn't coincide with the largest African diaspora street festival in the nation, Odunde, which had always conflicted with Odunde. They were always on the same Sunday. Yeah, always on the same Sunday.
Split the city.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're black and queer. Mm-hmm. You had to like either split your day or choose. Yeah. I always ended up choosing Pride, but like I've always wanted to go to Odunde.
Mm-hmm. And that's this Sunday.
Yep. What's his name? Dougie Fresh is going to be performing. I'm excited for that. Mm-hmm. It's on South Street. Mm-hmm. So it's like an open street festival. There's tons of food, music. Yeah, exactly. For the black people. So I'm really excited about that. So like they're very conscious. Like the original, thing never gave a fuck about black lives and just assumed it was clear that it was only for gay white people. It wasn't for others, just for gay white people. So it's nice to know that things have changed, and it was clear that things have changed.
It looks very, very, very diverse in the videos. That was dope. Definitely. And the dancers were fucking it up.
Yo, they was fucking it up. Like,
showing out.
Showing
out.
If
I was there, I would have been showing out.
I know you would have. Yo, we had you on camera before. So if anyone wants to look back at our videos from the springtime, there was a little concert we went to in Philly at Fairmount Park, and this guy that's speaking now with us, Rushard, we got him on camera. He hopped up on the stage and did his thing. Yo, killed it. Seriously killed it. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I did a little tidbit. You got to see it. Go to Leon Block. We did a little tidbit about the history of Vogue and ballroom scene and the culture, and why it's important. And then did the video clips with the two that was like battling out that I was showing you. We'll giving different examples of ballroom, and it was. I think it's important for people to see that and know that, because not a lot of people know that. Like outside of the black gay, yeah, exactly. Like even white folk don't know about it except for the hip ones, right? Yep, exactly. RuPaul's Drag Race, yep, they definitely do. And the phrases and terms that they use
in early RuPaul's Drag Race, so he did always know to the fact that he was the show was inspired by ballroom culture. I think now that it's gotten like mainstream, it kind of strayed away from that, and it's a little bit.
I mean, I don't think that he said that enough, because here we are, like over a decade later in RuPaul's Drag Race, and all these little kids coming up is saying phrases and terms and thinking that like they run that shit, and then they come across some straight black girl saying it, and they want to like school them on like shit that they think's gay, and it's like, no, that's not your culture, it's our culture. Hunty,
right? That's not where it comes from.
Right,
love.
Right, right. There, see, sis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like
yes.
That's not where it comes from.
All that, yes, came from black people, black trans women, black queers. You know what I mean? Brown queers. But they don't want to talk about this, and when we try to school them about it, they want to shut us up.
Like, it's the blank for me. I've been saying that for years, forever, and like it became a term. Like, when did this? Right. This was always a thing. Right. This was always a thing.
Right. Now you got straight dudes saying it too. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's another thing. So when I was sitting at Pride, right, and I was sitting on stoop smoking a blunt, and this guy comes by that I saw earlier at
sitting on a stoop. Smoking a blunt.
Yes. And this guy that
kids are fading.
Yo, stop. I saw this dude that was that I had seen in Kiki Alley. And he was drunk as a skunk because the team was like, "Yo, can I puff on that?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's just nasty." And I was like, "Well, nobody asked you. You asked to puff it, right?" So these two white boys, sexy, one had his shirt off, walk up to us, and he saw me with the lighter smoking the blunt. So he's like, "Yo, can I see your lighter real quick?" And he's in the midst of rolling a blunt. And then the drunk dude next to me, who's black, also was like, "Yo, y'all sexy, like y'all like that, right? Like, I'm trying to get your number. Like, can I lick on that blunt too? I'll finish rolling it for you, whatever." And the white dude's like, "Yo, no disrespect, but I don't roll like that." Da, da, da. And the black dude was like, "Well, why the fuck you here then?" Now, mind you, black dude is like light skinned, like red bone, but long dreads, tall as fuck, and beastie. And these two white boys are like not the type that look like they can really fight, or not the type that look like they're trying to fight. Like, they really didn't want any disrespect.
They just wanted to get a lighter.
They just want They literally were there trying to have a good time. But my point, because he said, "Why the fuck are you here then? Why the fuck are you here then?" And this brings my point to, like, and I'm gonna go back to it, but like, it's been an increasing thing that straight people, especially straight white people, especially straight white women, on their bridal showers and things like this, will come to gay bars and act like they run things, get into fights with gay people, and then want to cry wolf.
They're disturbing the peace.
Yeah, we're not. This isn't tourist. This isn't a tourist area. We're not a commodity. We're like, you know what I mean? We are people, and you're invading our space.
Let's go to the gays. We'll have so much fun there.
Yep, that's exactly. So now it's the bro thing to do as well, because it makes you inclusive, and it's a thing to get not only pick up girls, but it shows that you're a respectable guy and you're a well-rounded guy. So they'll do it, and it doesn't, like, I get it. These guys aren't homophobic. They clearly weren't homophobic, but they don't understand the impact of how offensive it can be seen to some people, especially black folk. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when he literally was like, "What the and he wasn't like trying to pick a fight with them. He wasn't trying to, he wasn't gonna punch him in the face or anything like that. But he did get a little aggressive. First of all, he was drunk. And that's what I think scared him a little bit. But he was like, "What the fuck you here for then?" And they're like, "No, we're just trying to have a good time, bro. Like, no disrespect, it's all good, but we're not like that." And he's like, "No, I understand that, but like, seriously, what the fuck are you here for? It don't make no sense. Like, that's some bullshit though. Like, I'm really trying to sit here and talk to motherfuckers. Like, y'all white, I don't even fuck with y'all like that. But this is my point. Like, I understood what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was talking just like that. He was slurring. He was drunk. But the point rings true. Is like, this is becoming more and more of an issue. And stay tuned, audience, because there actually is an episode that I have coming up with a guest that we've had on before. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but we will be talking about closeted men, brothers on the low, and how damaging it is to the communities and things like that. So it's kind of going off on a tangent. So a little precursor, soft entry into that, but we're gonna have kind of that discussion while we're here. Right.
Coming soon to the William Block.
Exactly. I just wanted to get into that real quick, but yeah, I feel like it is an issue to bring up, because you don't know who is and who isn't, and like, we're there to not necessarily pick up guys or significant others, but we should have that freedom to not like have to sit there and ask, or like, maybe you should identify yourself as someone that's straight when you walk around. Put "I'm straight" plastered on your face, or on your t-shirt or something, so we know not to just fuck with you. Like, out of respect, you came into our space. Those are my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that?
I see the point, but I also feel like if straight people, and if they're truthfully allies, then they have a space to be there.
Yes.
But that's if they're not doing it with like any hidden agenda, any hidden motives. I think if people are showing up to pride events and showing up, or like going to gay bars because they know they can go there to pick up women because it's going to make them look better. But in the same boat, if you're going to go into that space, you have to know you're probably going to get hit on. And
right.
You should have a response for that in tandem as well.
I think they probably do. They probably got it down to a science at this point because it's 2022.
You have to. If you're gonna put yourself in that space, it's bound to happen.
Speaking of, so I made a post on my personal page. It was a meme that was up like if talking about like say you got a homegirl and her dude is a homophobe, that makes her a homophobe too by extension. And people were like, yes, and just commenting on like crazy, like agreeing with it. And the post kind of went a little viral on my feed. And so people were jumping in, like straight folk were jumping in and stuff. And like straight folk were, two straight guys had jumped in, black guys, and they were saying their piece. And like I understood where they're coming from. It had to do with language. So like combination here, don't full circle about what we were talking about before, in combination to what we just finished. So the dude has said, you know, like no disrespect, like I don't agree with the lifestyle, but I don't have a disrespect. I don't have no issue with the dude, but like it's the same as if my homegirl has homegirls, I'm not gonna sit there and be busted up with them either. It's just, and I was like, no, I understand where you're coming from. I find it weird to be friends with my significant other's friends. It's weird, and that's just not something I necessarily go out to do. If it happens that we end up being cool, but I'm still gonna keep a separate, you know, boundary up because that's my significant other's friends. They come first, and if we was to break up, I'm gonna by default in my head let them still continue their friendship and bountifully, respectfully bounce out. That's just how the way I am, out of respect. And I understood where he was coming from despite the language. So I checked him on his language and it was like saying homosexual and saying lifestyle can be seen as like offensive, just to point out to you, but I do understand where you was coming from. And then some girl jumped in and was like, take it from a gay man. If he's saying that, then like respect where he's coming from. I was like, nah, it's like I understand where he was coming from. It's just that like with black people and the way we speak sometimes, and maybe like for you, and I'm not like assuming here, but I'm just pointing out that like things can get lost in translation sometimes, and that's what I'm here for, is to yes, and to differentiate with people's language.
It's easier to digest.
Yes. I found it to be a very enlightening talk, especially concerning you know, like the, what do you call it? Like the differences between people of different cultures and backgrounds and the way that they speak and what they're actually meaning. And when there's a disconnect of translation, people are so quick to be like, you're wrong, you're ignorant, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, listen to the person. They clearly care and they're open-minded and they're just, we need to understand what one is saying and then attack that person if need be. But if they're sitting here to have a conversation, clearly there's no ill intent,
right? So
just fucking listen. And I think that's where people need to start. And we were talking about you know, like a person of that's queer or a person of color is not their responsibility to educate someone if they don't feel like it. There's Google. You know what I'm saying? Google for that shit. But if someone deems it, if someone feels like educating someone, or someone feels to seek out to be educated by someone, the factor of discernment is big, because you have to discern whether or not that person is willing to divulge information about their experience, if they have the energy to be able to extend it to someone that wants to know, or if you're discerning, if you can decipher if the person that you may or may not be willing to give the energy to and education to is going to be receptive to it, if it's a waste of time or not, or if it's just someone that's trying to fuck with you to deplete you of energy, because there's a lot of insidious motherfuckers out there that will do it, whether it's about race or whether it's about colorism, whether it's about transphobia, homophobia, you name it.
Anything, really.
Yeah.
Any issue with a topic, period.
Yeah.
They want to poke holes and rile you up. Just stir the pot.
Stir the pot ain't even the word. But you know, speaking of Pride Month, I think it's important to speak on these kinds of things. These are the kind of conversations we need to be having to build bridges and to form better understandings, because there's a lot of people out there that really want to and say that they support and are there for and are allies of the LGBTQIA plus community, They just probably need more education and need to be better educated on how to do so. And it's important for us to not turn them away and shun them, but the ones that are really willing, even if we don't want to open up to educate them, we can point them in the right direction to where they can be educated.
Yeah, no, I feel like as long as a person is, I think we're circling back again. As long as a person is willing to be educated, then I personally wouldn't have a problem doing the education, or like you said, linking them with that source to get the education that they need. Or if I don't have the knowledge myself, I can find someone who has the right wording and the right verbiage to help them understand. Like some people need a different type of conversation though. Like
Facts.
Like there's different ways of presenting information.
People learn differently.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I think that's something to factor into when it comes to talking about issues, but issues and understandings of the queer community at large, because you have people from so many different pockets and demographics and cultures, and their perception of the way the world works, the way America works, all of that has a big impact on the way that someone's going to understand something. And Google isn't always the best tool in that. It gives you one side of something. So sometimes from the horse's mouth, as we were discussing in a episode that will be coming up onto you tonight and tomorrow, is a big insight to that. Like sometimes it is best to just sit in and have a nice open conversation when you have the capacity to do so.
No, Google's gonna give you, like you said, a blunt answer, and I feel like a lot of these issues need more than just a blunt answer. It needs a blunt answer. It needs explaining. It needs defining. It needs examples and metaphors to make it make sense.
Talk about it now.
And it needs a level of putting yourself in another person's shoes and seeing it from another person's eyes. And I think that's something that I've really honed in on. And it helps me with work too, because when I'm with people, they're telling me things and I'm like, okay, I need to not think of this from that perspective, from my perspective. I need to think of this from their perspective, because it's different and their brain works differently.
Yes.
So what is logical and an easy explanation to me, it's not a logical, easy explanation to somebody else. And that's the same thing.
Especially when you're indoctrinated by Fox News,
etc. That part.
You got these,
and that's breaking down years of thinking like that.
Yes.
So you have to chip away at that. You have to work at that. That's not going to, like I think some people, and if you're not if you don't have the patience to go through that with somebody, you can't be the person to have that discussion with them, because you're going to get frustrated. They're going to get frustrated, and you're not going to be able to help them learn. Again,
discernment. You have to know if that person's energy is going to be receptive to it, and if you're the person for them to educate them on it. And if not, confidently bow out and walk away. I think that's the key to it also.
Knowing when to walk away. Knowing when to walk away, or in some cases, agree to disagree, depending on the situation.
I want to talk real quick because we had A. Lee's Sauces and Rubs business owner, Art G.I. Brinson, on the show tonight and tomorrow. You definitely want to catch him. We are talking about a little bit about what we're talking about now. So I just wanted to touch on that really quick. Y'all know I love y'all, right? I also will be featured on Alcoholics coming up very, very soon. You do not want to miss that. We've been on Alcoholics before. Very excited about that. So when are we going to go to a Pride celebration, my friend? Because you seem to be liking all of the footage that we aired here on the Leon Block Independent Media of the Pride festivities. And you can see how inclusive and how Black and brown people were to the front.
Oh, for sure. No, I definitely want to go. We have to plan that. Maybe in Not this weekend. Not the next weekend. The following weekend.
Right.
So is that the last weekend in June? Or
Oh, well,
second
New York Pride is the last weekend in June.
Mm-hmm.
I have family members and friends trying to get me to go. I don't know if I'll go this year. I don't know. We shall see. However, going back to language and the conversation at hand. Language. A lot of people say words like, sticks and stones, but language matters.
Oh, for sure. I literally spent, I would probably say at least a good maybe year and a half in therapy debulking sticks and stones. Because as a kid, that's what they used to say: sticks and stones will bring up bones, words will never hate you. So you're like,
yep.
I'm living my life, trying to not be offended by words,
Yep.
and just holding that shit in. But words fucking stick. Though they stick, they stay, they repeat, they circle, they cycle, they go around in your head. And that shit hurts more than sticks and stones, because after a while, a bruise will heal. Your
Yep.
body will take care of that.
Yep.
Your brain, on the other hand, it doesn't take care of wounds the way your body does. The way
Right.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mental Health Social Worker, no, you bring it out the information right there, because you're right. The way, like, say you're in a physical abusive relationship, but all they do is pinch you all over in places that no one else can see.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the mental impact that's having on a person. Are you going to say that person never suffered from physical abuse because there are bruises that went away and you didn't get to see it yourself? Mm-hmm. That's not fair. And so, like, people are saying, like, society has gotten too soft and it's that and the third, but it's not necessarily the case. I think that things have come about and pointed out for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a lot of information. And I think that because we're in the age of information and so much is hitting us at such an astronomical rate, right, that it's no wonder that people are having overloads and are just, like, dismissing things.
That, and then, like you said, with language. So the world is changing, things are evolving, words are different, the world's opening up, and we're learning so much more. So as someone who's a person who is, learning more, you're more open-minded, you have the vocabulary to understand and know these things, and there's things that you identify with within yourself, and
Yes.
So on the opposite end of that, people who, like, older generations mostly, they don't understand how we're getting to this consciousness, and they can't get to this consciousness because they don't understand it. Like, their whole lives they grow up this one way.
Yes.
And people are stubborn,
very,
and stuck in their ways. And I feel like it's at the end of the day, you can really make it very, very digestible for people to understand. It's not that hard.
It really isn't.
But that's just a matter of want. Do you want to learn? Do you want to change it? Because if you don't, then
going back to Fox News.
Mm-hmm. Everything goes back to Fox News.
For real. Everything goes back to Fox News because these motherfuckers could just sit and eat things like Jell-O. They don't need to put their dentures in and motherfucking chew.
They ain't trying to do no work.
Nope. Just lay in that hospital bed and slurp it on up. Matter of fact, these motherfuckers don't even got a plastic spoon. They got a plastic straw that bends.
Nah, in the hospital, sometimes, especially if you're in the psych ward, they won't give you any plastic because they don't want you to cut yourself. So they give you like a it kind of looks like a plate.
A better metaphor, like you're saying, because they're a danger to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
America's a danger to itself and the rest of the motherfucking world. And who's the most dangerous? The Americans that don't know that they're the most dangerous. Yeah. Oh, and the ones that know that they're the most dangerous, i.e. our domestic terrorists that we don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That we want to, like, while we're on the whole theme of language, we want to dull down the language of white supremacist domestic terrorists that are terrorizing us through and through with these quote unquote mass shootings. By the way, going back to the whole mass shooting thing, because we want to point this out real quick. All the bang bang that's happening in all the red line hood ass communities all across the nation, day in and day out, for 30, 40 plus years since the war on drugs began in South America and Central America. Bang, bang, all over the fucking place. Those are mass shootings classified as we want to classify them today, but we never label them as mass shootings. They don't make mainstream media news, and the world is not outraged by them.
But
There are
they happen
shootings.
all the time.
They happen all the time in the hood. There are shootings with 3, 5, 15 people put in body bags and no one talks about it. It might be on local news, but it doesn't make national news. And I'm not to diminish Uvalde or Buffalo or Tulsa or any of the other recent shootings like Philly. But my point is that the recent shooting that happened in Philly, it was like 11 people injured, like 3 people dead. And it was 2 people having a shootout on the street in the midst of a crowd. A shootout. Any other time, they would call it a shootout. All of a sudden, because of all these other shootings, they're labeling it a mass shooting. Well, if you call that a mass shooting, you should call all of the other things that you used to label black on black crime, label
Mass
them
shootings.
motherfucking mass shootings too. Period. Full fucking stop.
I'm pretty sure the definition of a mass shooting also is one gunman in a multitude of people, or 2 gunmen against multitudes of people,
Right.
not opposing gunmen.
Right.
So
But because
language,
right, exactly, language matters, and the way that the media will scope things will smear the picture so that people don't pick up the different pockets that people are thrown into to keep the veil over them. People are put in compartments and then a thin veil is layered over top, so people are able to speak and sense that they're all amongst each other when really they're not. You know what I mean? That language helps to keep that buffer, whereas some people can pick up on a language and some people it goes right over them.
Yeah.
Fox News. I'm saying though,
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I know I'm not.
Fox News.
With the hair sway, I love it. Yes.
That wasn't intentional.
I know, but I fucking dug it. Like, it speaks volumes for real. All right, so Rushard, guest to our show tonight. You will be performing. You're gonna be doing some what? Some Vogue,
some folk, some African, some surprises. I'm not going to give it all away because we want people to come out and see.
Right. But you will be performing at the Juneteenth event.
Yes, sir. Me and one of my best friends that I've been dancing with, Rachel. Her name's Rachel, by the way. Hi, Rachel. Shout out to Rachel. Shelly, if you nasty, on all social media platforms. She'll appreciate me doing that. We've been dancing together for 10 years. We actually met doing the Martin Luther King showcase in Harrisburg that they do every year. That's how we met, and we've been dancing ever since. Through college, we've had gigs. We teach at the studio together. Like, we just anything that has to do with dancing, me and her probably have done it. That's my road dog. I love her. Shout out to her.
So in other words, your day job is a mental health social worker, and your night job is a dancer.
Yes, dancer, instructor. I teach tap at the only Black-owned studio in Harrisburg. It's been running for 15 years, and we actually have our 15th annual showcase coming up on Juneteenth as well.
All right, look out for that shit.
So, yeah, I teach tap there. I choreograph musicals. I dance with Rachel. I dance in the community. I'm just a dancing motherfucker, you know? I'm doing cats, too.
Oh, wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. We love to see it. We love to see it. He will be, along with Rachel, dancing at our Juneteenth event, as you can see on the screen. It is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. Definitely come out, show some support, show some love. It is our first event we have coming up. I'm just seeing these comments. Wow. Man. So Matt said, "Oh man, you just described the bar scene Megan and I seen happening at Gettysburg Pride. Yeah, his language was cringe.
Mm-hmm.
You do get some great threads going. I know I've learned a lot just reading through them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yo, we love to see it. We love to support y'all. Thank you for tuning in, Matt. I'm sorry, I'm just now seeing the comments. I didn't get the ding dings coming through.
I didn't get the ding dings coming through. Ding ding.
So I wonder where they're watching from, because we are live on Facebook, our Facebook page, Leon Block Independent Media. We are live on our group and my personal page. So you could be watching from either of those, and we will be restreaming to YouTube and Twitter, and you can catch it later to listen on Spotify. You don't want to miss that either. So yeah, Rushard, you will be performing at our event coming up. I really appreciate you coming by and really talking with us about things that are pertinent to having a better understanding of our communities, how to better bridge our communities. Because language really does matter.
It does matter, and I feel, and also like within the communities, there's language that needs to be learned, and language that needs to be shared and understood. Like so in work I had gotten my first non-binary consumer, and like it took me the longest to get my brain to replace she and he with them.
Yes,
especially when typing, because when typing,
really,
it was easier to say it, but typing it grammatically, some sentences don't flow with using they. Let me think of an example. All right, I can't think of an example right now because everything I'm thinking of is making sense.
Right, of course.
But it's a thing. But that alone, like just learning to use they when talking on the phone about them, and talking about them and not saying talking about her, not misgendering people. So that was something that I had to learn, and always learning constantly. But I was open to learn that, and thank God for them, because they were very patient with me in getting to where I am and using the proper terms. Right. They didn't make me feel bad about it. They were like, and they would politely correct me. Not even all the time, but sometimes. And then eventually it was like, it just became kind of a normal thing.
I think that's part of it. Like, practice makes perfect. No one's perfect, but as long as you're willingly trying and continuing to be like willingly trying, I think that's part of the key. Is learning that things take time, growth takes time, and even within our own communities. Like, I have a trans man that's a friend of mine that we go back to high school, and like I always knew that he was supposed to be a man, but that wasn't my business, or like for me to, you know what I mean? Like, no one ever pushed, but even still, once he transitioned into the person that he is now, it was still very hard for a few years for me to stop using she, her pronouns and use he, him, his pronouns. And I was appalled at myself for it being so difficult for myself.
I understand that, because you think that you are understanding and accepting of that community, so for that to be something that was difficult for you, it doesn't sit right. And I felt the same way. I was like, I should be better. I should be better. Right. But like you said, things take time and they don't happen overnight. And if you weren't actually ever in that situation personally, when you get to that, it's hard to automatically make that shift. No matter how conscious you are.
All right, now the key is to learn something new every day. It doesn't matter how small it is or how minute, period. The fact that you at least woke up with the intention.
Right. Like you said, intention, though, that's the thing. Things don't happen overnight. You have to intend to make it happen. Like, if you want to learn how to play a flute, what do? You pick it up every day in practice. So you can't just expect something to happen just by a snap of a finger. You have to do it in practice and you work at it. And then eventually it's second nature and you're just doing it no issue. That's how you learn things.
Couldn't have said that any better. Man, I love you. I appreciate this chat. It's been a very enlightening chat. I hope people really enjoyed this. Tune in. If you are just tuning in and you didn't catch the whole shabam,
Run it back.
Yeah, run it back. Run it on back. Share this stream with your friends. We appreciate the love and support. You could donate. The links are at the bottom of the screen. They will be. And we're going to wrap it on down, wrap it on up, and seal it on up with a bow. I love you, and it's always a pleasure, Rushard. You will be back on at some point, per usual, and you will see Rushard at our event, June 19th. You don't want to miss it. In Lidditz, PA, in honor of Juneteenth, but it is also during Pride Day coinciding with it. So we're really, really, really excited about it. So I think that's all for me. Is there any last thoughts or things you want to share with the audience before we wrap it on down?
Just allow yourself to be patient with yourself and be patient with others. I think that was, at the end of the day, that's the meat of what we talked about here today. And being willing to learn and being willing to be human and mess up. That's my piece.
That's right. Mistakes make us grow. So make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm Jontel. Have a good night.